Okay, Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to all participants. Now, can I ask everyone to stand for our national anthem? Thank you. Everyone, may please be seated. Now, without further ado, I would like to invite Prof. Hasan for his doa recital. Prof.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi. Al-Fatihah. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Ar-Rahmanir Rahim. Maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Amin. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hamdan hamidin hamdan syakirin hamdan ghafirin kafirin mughira. Ya Rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karim wa azimi sultan. Allahumma shalli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Ya Allah, ya Tuhan kami, segala puji hanya bagi-Mu ya Allah, Tuhan semesta alam. Kepadamu kami berserah dan kepadamu kami jugalah memohon perlindungan. Selawat dan salam ke atas junjungan besar Nabi Muhammad SAW, kepada ahli, baginda dan para sahabat dan tabi'in. Ya Allah, kami mohon kepadamu akan keimanan yang sempurna ya Allah, keyakinan yang benar, yang ya Allah, ilmu yang berguna, hati yang khusyuk, lidah yang sentiasa berzikir kepadamu ya Allah. Limpahkanlah dan kurniakanlah kepada kami rezeki yang halal lagi diberkati. Engkau lapangkanlah hati kami, Kau satukanlah hati-hati kami, Kau berkatilah perhimpunan kami ini pada hari yang berbahagia ini ya Allah. Semoga ianya diterima sebagai satu perhimpunan yang hanya mengharapkan keridaan-Mu ya Allah. Kau pun pandanglah kepada kami, kepada usaha kami yang kerdil ini melalui conference yang ke-6, ABRA International Conference on Quality of Life atau AQoL2022 sebagai wadah dan usaha yang mulia di sisi-Mu ya Allah. Kau kurniakanlah perjumpaan ini dengan bimbingan yang berterusan ya Allah. Bantulah kami, bimbinglah kami untuk meneroka alam ciptaan-Mu yang amat luas demi ke arah kebaikan, kelestarian dan kemakmuran manusia sejagat. Kau permudahkanlah untuk kami untuk terus menjalankan aktiviti penyelidikan di muka bumi-Mu dan menyebarkan hasil dapatan di dalam konferensi yang sedang berlangsung dan juga yang akan dirancang pada masa hadapan. Kau berkatilah segala usaha kami dan bantulah kami untuk tidak sedikit pun mengabaikan tanggungjawab kami sebagai khalifah di muka bumi ini ya Allah. Kau padamkanlah dari hati-hati kami sifat-sifat keji yang tidak Engkau restui ya Allah. Sebaliknya, tanamkanlah di lubuk hati-hati kami dengan sifat kasih sayang, bantu-membantu dan bertoleransi. Sesungguhnya hanya kepada Engkau lah kami berserah dan hanya kepada Engkau jugalah kami memohon perlindungan. Rabbana azwajina wa dhurriyyatina qurrata a'yun waj'alna lil muttaqina imama. Allahumma ighfir lahu warhamhu wa'afi wa'fu anhum. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar wa qina adzabannar wa qina adzabannar. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Terima kasih, Pak Hasan. Now, I will invite Prof. Yusuf for his welcoming speech. Prof. Yusuf.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Greetings. Welcome to Putrajaya. I'm so happy to see you because I said you'll come here once in a while. Right. Looking back at the venue, this is the first time that we come here, and it's quite a few places for your selfies. There's a lot of interesting architecture elements. Well, warm greetings from us. I always forgot those on the screen. Assalamualaikum to our advisor. See those on the virtuals. The virtual screen. Prof. J, are you there?
Yes, yes.
All right. Okay, I can see you from the screen. Thank you.
Yes, Prof. I'm here too.
Thank you for making the effort. Prof. J was supposed to give us his speech tonight during dinner, but apparently he couldn't come because he's still under quarantine. So he will give his speech maybe after my speech. And good to see the regulars, especially best paper award winner, Dr. Kinabalu, Dr. Chong. Thank you very much for participating. Sorry, mata tak nampak. There are a few regulars and few newbies. Okay, thank you very much. And first of all, why this conference suddenly in November? It was supposed to be in December at Samarkand. Okay, apparently we did not get any. We did got a few, but not enough. Yeah. So actually, the abstract deadline is actually the early bird. Abstract deadline is actually an indicator for us as well. From there, we can gauge. Through our experience in organizing conferences, the early bird deadline is actually for us to gauge whether we can proceed or not. So Samarkand did send us a red flag, you know, so that's why we have to postpone. We did receive a few abstracts for Samarkand, but not enough. So eventually we requested them to those who submitted whether they would transfer. Some did, some couldn't because for the local Malaysian participants, they say they cannot present another local because their funds is actually meant for about this. So Samarkand was okay, but not Putrajaya. Anyway, they say that they will reserve it for Morocco in March. Okay. Anyway, right. Actually, for us, Putrajaya is also a test case because we have been organizing three conferences initially, and then we went to 4, but we backed up to 3 because there were not enough papers. So Putrajaya is also another test case. We wanted to test whether it's still possible to organize 4. Okay. On our part, there's no problem. We can organize 6, even 6 in a year. We got no problem. But no point organizing when there is no papers. Okay. But alhamdulillah, we still get some papers. They should have to go on despite not meeting the target. Thank you very much for all of you who managed to submit your papers. Okay. I'll just take a few minutes because I would like to encourage, especially for the newbies, to log in next week to our post-conference session where we will announce the best paper award winners. But before that, I would like to touch on the submitting of the papers in the journal. Okay, because some still submitted just their first author's name rather than including the co-authors. you must include all the authors so that when you refer to the paper in it spells out all the authors. Then only you click into the paper, right? Anyway, I would encourage you to join our session Wednesday next week for the post conference. I know everybody will be excited to hear who will be the best award winner. Okay, and especially for the newbies. Okay, that's where we have more time for a Q&A. Okay, for the regulars, I think they understood how we proceed. Okay, so more of that next week, inshallah. Okay, for today, just briefly about the program. Since we are just a small number, we just have room 1. This is the only room. This is the only room. So you will mingle just here, and your break is sebelah. And lunch will be at the makan. I think you know where the makan. So we will have lunch. Oh, by the way, don't forget this one. This is actually your meal pass. So please tag along, especially for your meals. You might be stopped by the security if they don't see you. Okay, so please tag along. For the whole day, wajib. Bukan sunat lagi, wajib. Until your dinner barbecue. Okay, dinner barbecue will be at the lakeside. Okay, I've not seen the site, but after lunch we will show you where the location is for the dinner. And thank you very much for those Golden Voices contributor. Okay, we have a session at 5 o'clock. After the breakout 3 at 5 o'clock, we have a rehearsal with the live band. So you know who you are. Okay, Golden Voices contributors, you can test your key and so on at 5 p.m. Okay, right. Basically, that's incidentally. What you see is this is supposed to be the latest, because the program was published earlier. So this was supposed to be the latest. Was supposed to be. We have another. I couldn't print out the very latest, which includes basically on the international co-presenters. If you see your international co-presenters is not listed in blue here, because this is considered obsolete. Okay. Anyway, don't worry. Okay, all the breakout chairs have been informed of the latest. Meaning, there's an update, especially for breakout 3. Breakout 3, almost all are with international co-presenters. Okay, so I think this will be very exciting. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, our hope had been answered. Of course, in Kota Kinabalu, we did mention that it will be much more interesting if the co-presenter is actually also your international co-host. Okay, so we'll be receiving virtual presenters, especially from China, and in Japan, Tokyo, and a few other places which are forgotten, but alhamdulillah, it will be an international scene. Okay, so basically, apart from getting your papers published after amendment or regarding IC, okay. Now regarding IC reviews, okay, since they were put into short notice because we have pulled from December to November. Why? Because everybody was talking about the floods, okay? So it caught us as well. So we do not want to gamble everything in December. So we bring forward to November, okay? Now, not only we were caught with the flood in December, but our IIC were also caught with short notice to review the papers, okay? I apologize for that, okay? But hopefully, we will give you an extension of another week. Because of the date previously received, okay, we will give you another extension of another week from the published schedule. Okay, you know you have to submit your amended paper after the post conference, meaning after next week is 1 week. Okay, but because there's been a delay from our side, so we will extend it another week. Meaning after the post conference next week, we will be plus next, right? I will inform you in the email. Right, thank you very much. Over to you, Adi.
Okay, thank you for Yusuf for your speech. Okay, Next up, I would like to call upon the conference advisor, Professor Jamalul Ladi Abdullah. With his opening speech. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, thank you, MC. Can you all hear me? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and greetings to everyone from Malaysia as well as all over the world. Kami bersyukur kepada Ilahi kerana dengan izinnya dapatlah kita berkumpul sekali lagi untuk konferensi pada kali ini. So my apology that I'm unable to be there in person, so because I have to be quarantined. Okay, thank you, Prof. Yusuf, for inviting me to give opening speech as AMER Conference advisor in my capacity as the Assistant Vice Chancellor of College of the Built Environment, who is jointly organized this conference. And for everybody's information, our Faculty of Architecture, Planning and Surveying, beloved known as FSPU, has recently restructured and upgraded into a college. So it's called College of Built Environment, or the Malay acronym is College Pengajian Alam Bina. So it is another milestone for our beloved faculty. So I'd like to greet our conference chair, Prof. Yusuf, as well as conference co-chair, Prof. Masran, ISC members, AMER board members, all the papers presenters, authors, co-authors, professors, academics, and also postgraduate students, and basically the whole team who are here for the AQoL2022 Putrajaya conference. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, selamat datang and a very good morning to all of you. So basically this AQoL2022 Putrajaya marked the 39th international conference organized by AMER, ABRA, as well as SEPs of CBE UITM. So congratulations, Prof. Yusuf, and everyone involved here. So you deserve a big claps, okay, for your perseverance and then your stamina. Really, like starting, I think I remember started in 2009 at FSBU Shah Alam, okay, and now still going strong, like has been 10 years plus that, almost 24 years, or is it 14 years? Okay, so with up to 4 conferences per year. So this is the number 39. So I hope there'll be more coming. So for this conference, the committee received 40 abstracts, and then due to a big rejection and withdrawal, so the number of abstracts approved was 31. And then of the contributors there, 20 abstracts, the first author were Malaysian, while the other 3, one each from China, Morocco, and Nigeria. So there's also co-authors from 22 countries. So countries which co-author with Malaysia include Indonesia with 6, China and the Philippines 3 each, Japan 2, and 1 each from Australia, Bangladesh, Brunei, Canada, Ethiopia, Lebanon, New Zealand, Pakistan, South Korea, Singapore, Sweden, Thailand, UAE, United States of America, and Yemen. So we see, like I see that now we started to reach out into new countries, which is like Ethiopia, and then perhaps some Sweden. So this is something like perhaps they were here before, but this is in my mind, this is I started to see a few of new countries here: Lebanon, Ethiopia, Yemen. So congratulations, Prof. Yusuf, of involvement of more authors from other countries. So in terms of the categories, there are 12 subcategories in this conference, and the top 2 most popular. First one is health, healing, environment with 7 papers, which constitute 23%. So I think the last conference also health and healing environment was the top one, and followed by educational, learning environment, legal matters, and residential environment. So these categories here, educational and learning environment, legal, also residential environment have 4 papers each. So those abstracts that were approved were transformed into 24 papers. So it is a return of 77. Okay. 77%, which is a good percentage from the 31 abstract approved. However, for today, only 22 papers shall be presented. So after this one here, the forthcoming one, there's a curtain raiser for 2023, which is the 11th ICEPS 2023 in Marrakesh, Morocco, which is scheduled on the 7th and 8th of March 2023. So inshallah next year, okay, we'll start going international again, and this time a new location in Morocco, and I think as well as a new continental province. Last time in Africa was in Cairo, so this time will be in Morocco. Okay, so the calling of papers shall be next week. So once again, I would like to give special thanks to the tireless crews behind the scenes to ensure the smooth running of the conference here. So lastly, we do hope for your active participation throughout today and to have an enlightening conference, and to all papers presenters, authors, committee members, RIC, everybody involved, especially Professor and the team. Once again, congratulations of your success in holding the conference AQoL 2022. So dengan lafaz Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I declare AQoL 2022 Putrajaya open. Sekian, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor J. Now, before we start, I will just try to inform. Basically, to every presenters, we will be giving a lapel microphone, this one. Okay. To those who has participate in conference before this, I think you guys are already familiar with this. So lapel microphone, basically you just turn it on, because when you're presenting, you have to put it on your lapel, so that the sound will be much more clear for the camera, so that when you watch the videos on YouTube in our channel, which is emAs, yes, you will hear the sound really clear. At the same time, it is advised to not hold the mic, because or else your marks will be deducted. Very be warned. Now, at the same time, after you finish, don't press any button, because or else there will be an interference with the frequency, so that the audio won't be there will be disturbance from other channels. Yes, okay. And at the same time, please advise to mute all communication devices while others are presenting. And if you have anything to discuss with someone beside you, please keep it at a low volume, so that you won't disturb with the presenters. Does everybody understand? Yes. Yes. Good. Now, without further ado, let's start the conference. Yeah, sorry. Sorry about that.
I just chip in. I think we follow according to that, because after this it will be the coffee break. Although we will delay, but the coffee is there. So we just have a delay for 15 minutes. So 10:15 we start with the breakout one.
10:15.
Please inform Dr. David. Dr. David.
Hello, Dr. David.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, okay, Dr. David, we will begin at 10:15 a.m.
10:15, okie dokie.
Yes, okay. So you can enjoy your coffee first or something?
Okay, thank you. I'll see you at 10:15.
Okay, yes, please, 10:15.
Right, cheers.
And also to all the participants, you guys may enjoy your coffee first, because after this we will just go non-stop before the lunch break. So yeah, we will be meeting at 10:15.
All right.
Yeah. Okay. let's go for a coffee.
Okay. So without further ado, we would like to begin our conference now.
Okay,
Prof. David, are you ready?
I'm ready. Yes.
Okay, good.
There we go. Just square myself up. Right, I'm good to go. I'm looking for, who am I looking for? Miss Farah.
Okay, so the floor is yours, Prof. David.
Thank you. Good. So let me just get my big screen going here. Oops. Right. Welcome everybody, anybody who's there, and I'm looking for Miss Farah, who is my first presenter.
Yes, Ms. Farah Shazwani.
Good. Okay. Welcome, Miss Farah, and welcome to everybody else. Just to let you know before you start, please manage your time. We have 10 minutes for the presentation and then 5 minutes for questions from the floor. Can I encourage everybody who's participating to ask questions? That's the reason we're here. It's the reason people are presenting papers, is to get feedback. So please join in, give presenters some encouragement, give them questions if you have questions about their papers. And let's make this a kind of meaningful, useful kind of session, okay? So that's about it. I'll give you, you've got 10 minutes. I'll let you know when you've got 2 minutes to go, Ms. Farah. So off you go. Have a good time.
Thank you, Dr. David. Assalamualaikum and good morning. Can I start?
Yes, you can.
Okay. I am Farah Shazwani binti Mizaki. So here are my supervisors, Honor Aini, Dr. Su, and Dr. Andriana. I'll be presenting the exploration of pediatric cardiopulmonary resuscitation, which is a conceptual paper. The background of my study, a pediatric CPR, pediatric means children and CPR means cardiopulmonary resuscitation, is a sequential algorithm, meaning the algorithm that we had already learned as the healthcare personnel, that is the basis of the return of spontaneous circulation. Usually, after each of the pediatric CPR, we record that. We record that using the resuscitation feedback form, which is shared for the adult and pediatric CPR events. And the problem with this is that adult and pediatric differs in CPR quality, medications use, and post-cardiac arrest care. So, this presentation of conceptual framework highlights the theoretical conceptual framework for exploring PICO CPR case study and documentation improvements. This study aims to explore PICO CPR practices, and the objective is to evaluate the resuscitation feedback form currently used in pediatric setting. Some literature reviews from the updated authors. Nico et al. 2017 reviewed that cardiac arrest is a section of blood circulation from absent or ineffective cardiac mechanical activity, meaning that the heart is not functioning properly. So that modern CPR was founded in the late 1950s and early 1960s to create artificial ventilation and preparation for the victims. So, as my paper is a conceptual framework paper, I'll be using theory of planned behavior to define behavior of interest, of target, action involved, the context, and the time frame. Based on Monster et al. 2020, TPB outlines the human behavior is being guided as behavior beliefs, normative beliefs, and control beliefs. I'll be using two tools, which is Oscar and Artstein. So, Artstein reporting style has helped narrate a structured framework for the cardiac arrest. So here, conceptual framework importance has been increasingly acknowledged during the whole research activity. So this is the most important slide of my presentation. There are two constructs for each attitude, subjective known and perceived control. Behavioral belief. The socio-demographic data from OSCA and its 6 domains from the communication, cooperation, coordination, monitoring, leadership, and decision-making will be used to interview the participants. Exploration, which is the main reason I'm doing this study, to explore the current practice of PICO-CPR, which ultimately leads to the attitude, which is the current practice, which is guided by the OSCA tool. Normative belief and motivation to comply is to subjective norm. Normative belief in Einstein framework, which I used, is a standard tool to capture the momentous events during the cardiac arrest. And next, the motivation to comply. We are imagining here a pediatric-friendly resuscitation feedback form is important to lead to important research here. Subjective norm, I'm using the IGN's resuscitation feedback form, which is guided by the Einstein tool. Control belief and perceived power leads to the perceived control by the team members. Improvement of PICO-CPR and evaluation of the resuscitation feedback form to be used in a pediatric setting is achievable. Perceived power, I believe that all the team members can explore the current CPR of PICO-CPR and evaluate the resuscitation feedback form in use. So this ultimately leads to the perceived control by the team members. So the intention of the study here is to identify PICO-CPR loopholes to be improved and to translate the current resuscitation feedback from critics into a pediatric-friendly approach suggestion. So we will adopt planned behavior to achieve targeted outcome of CPR, which is a successful CPR which patient survives. So this is sourced from Theory of Planned Behavior by Edson. The study design is qualitative with semi-structured interview. My sampling is based on purposeful sampling, which expects about 15 to 20 participants. And my setting is PICO and Pediatric Intensive Care Unit Institute Jantung Negara. The inclusion criteria, all the team members must have at least 2 years of experience in pediatrics involved in chest compression, defibrillating, medication administration, intubating, heart rhythm identification, ordering blood products and administering the blood products, and recording the events flow. Cardiologist, anesthetic surgeon, and nurses involved in criteria number 1. So I've got the article approval from ITM and IGN. Instruments, I'll be using interview guideline, OSCA, and Einstein framework. And data analysis, I'll be doing transcription and coding with in vivo, interpreting the data. So next, attitude, reasons why something is done. Behavioral belief, what is agreeable? I'm expecting from the interview, I'll be getting positive and negative comments. Exploration, guidelines from the American Heart Association are based on the best evidence we feel is situation needs to be improved. Social pressure, normative belief. In this interview, I'll be asking what should be done or avoided. Motivation to comply, rules should be essential for individuals highly motivated to have structured and clear answers. Perceived control capability. Control belief, I assume that all participants has patient's best interest in mind. And perceived power, team members are perceived as being influential in providing good discussion of current practice of CPR and the current documentation. So I've done the pilot study. The purpose was to test the interview protocol and check data triangulation. A case study involving chest compression and defibrillation was chosen. 2 team members were purposefully selected. Interview was set up with them. Transcription and coding were done. Improvement for real study was noted. In real study, 2 case studies will be selected. More open-ended questions will be asked, and few copies of interview will be saved to avoid losing the data. In the real study. So in the real study, I expect that I will get 25 minutes of each interview with real participants or informants of 13 people. The example of codes that I have obtained from the pilot study, from the research questions, number 1, what can be improved in current practice during PICO-CPR that can be explored from the involved team members' thoughts? The first code, CPR compression. Second, training received by staff. Third, delay of action in PICO-CPR. Fourth, patient's close monitoring, improvement by staff nurses. 5, initial events recognition. 6, drug administration. 7, problems in managing lethal arrhythmias. such as the pulseless ventricular tachycardia. 8, team formation, and 9, prognostication and the confidence by the team members. Second research question, how is the resuscitation feedback form be evaluated by team members of PICO-CPR in pediatric setting? First, they need to copy the events on the other paper first before transferring it into the form, as the form is online. Second, CPR faculty roles. And third, need better online CPR form management. And the source of this figure is the pilot study of proposed exploration of pediatric cardiopulmonary resuscitation, which I've done. As a conclusion, I believe that everyone has the patient's best interest in mind in the team members, so that exploring PICO-CPR will identify many current practice shortcomings, and evaluating the currently used resuscitation feedback form will assess its viability or suitability in the pediatric setting. A short map to do that, theory of learned behavior, which is the conceptual framework, is very important to be steering the research activity before the real research is done. It will be used to answer the research questions. The findings of this proposed study can provide better safety around pediatric cardiac arrest, and possibly more pediatric-friendly form can be constructed in the near future. Probably, this can provide ideas for the future study to be done. Thank you.
Okay, that's very good. Perfect timing as well. Thank you, Ms. Farah. I have a quick question, if I may, before we throw it open to the floor. I just wondered why you said that you will select 2 case studies. Why 2?
Because 2 is exhaustive enough. Because
I'm sorry, it's what? Sorry?
2 case study is already very exhaustive. 1 case study, I expect to have 6 to 7 informants. 1 informant, I expect to have about 25 to 30 minutes of interview. 25 to 30 minutes of interview with open-ended questions. I expect this is a very exhaustive discussion. So, to do transcription after that already takes a lot of time, because I'm a postgraduate student, a master student, which mostly the work will be done by me myself. So I think 2 case study should be enough.
Okay, I asked the question because as a kind almost jokingly, but we tend to refer to 1 case being an opinion, 2 cases being an argument, and 3 is when you start to get some kind of pattern developing. So 2 seemed a very odd number. But that's fine. The other question related to that is, you said that you would, I forget the expression, something like you would ask more open-ended questions. So what specifically was missing first time round?
What's missing the first time round, I tend to start with cross-ended question. When I start with cross-ended question, people will answer with yes and no. And this will limit my interview to be very short, Prof.
Okay, so, sorry.
Asking more open-ended question will lead them to think more, and I can provide more discussion with them.
Okay, the concern I had is that, does that suggest that the first time round you may have missed something, or you may not have got a complete picture?
Yeah, that's true, Prof.
Okay, cool. Listen, any questions from the floor, please? Come on, girls and boys. Okay, deathly silence reigned. Yeah. Okay, no problem. Listen, Ms. Farah, thank you so much. Very clear presentation. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Okay. Great. So now I'm looking for Dr. Katiman.
Can you see the slides? Online.
Can indeed, yes.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you. Okay. Assalamualaikum and very good morning. My name is Dr. Diana Katiman, and on behalf of my colleagues, I'd like to present the results of our study entitled Exploring End-of-Life Issues and Determination of Surrogacy Ladder in Malaysia. Okay, sorry, I have to do it manually. So when we talk about end-of-life care, there are a couple of issues. Few images might come to your mind. The first image you might imagine somebody in ICU connected to tubes and machines, prolonging life. Or you might imagine somebody who is frail and elderly, bedbound and not able to move. And you are right, because there are multiple patients with different diagnoses at the end of life. If you look at this disease trajectories, patients with life-limiting illnesses such as patients with cancer, advanced organ failures, and frailty, they have an acute deterioration of clinical status as they reach the end of life. But what is the time frame that we are looking at here? If you look at the model of palliative care, you see that towards the end of life, they have an increased needs of palliative care, addressing their needs, such as physical symptoms control, spiritual, psychosocial issues. And generally speaking, when we talk about end of life, we are talking about a prognosis survival rate of about 6 months. And this may differ from country to country, but generally when we talk about end of life, we're talking about 6 months. Okay, so the second context that I want to talk about is with regard to surrogacy ladder. What is surrogacy ladder? When we have a patient who is unable to make decisions, who is incapacitated, who will the doctors go to when they have to make difficult decisions towards the end of life? Do we need to continue with chemotherapy? If we give chemotherapy, there's only 5% of survival. Would the patient want to go in and out of hospital, or would they prefer to be cared for at home? So these difficult decisions need to be made on behalf of the incapacitated patient. In countries like the United Kingdom, they have the Advanced Medical Directive supported by the Mental Capacity Act. In the UK and other countries, all the publics, the patients, will have the ability to document in a legal document their preferences of medical care, such as, would I want it to be intubated or put on the life support machine if I'm going to be in a vegetative state after that? Would I want to be perform CPR done on me? Or would I want to do dialysis or chemotherapy? Or would I prefer to be at home with my loved ones, spending the rest of my time in a quality setting, quality of life setting? In Malaysia, we have no legal framework. And with no legal framework, no direction, or no legal document for healthcare doctors to refer to, we have problem in deciding whom to talk when we have to make these difficult decisions. So being in the Muslim majority country as in Malaysia, we try to see whether there is any local Sharia guideline to help us in deciding whom to talk to make this important decision making, these important decisions. So as you know, in Islam, there is a concept of guardianship hierarchy, especially with regard to property of the orphans, or with regard to marriage. We have to go and ask the wali, who is responsible, the person responsible of looking after the welfare of the ladies. So we were wondering whether in healthcare setting, is there a specific guideline with regard to the list of priority of persons that we need to consult, which is congruent to the Islamic faith? Would it be the wali, or would it be the family members, or would it be somebody who pays the medical bills? So who do we talk to? Now, to come up with that guideline, we need to ascertain whether the issues are real in Malaysia. So we have to ask this research question. Number one, what are the common issues that doctors in Malaysia encounter at the end of life? Who do they talk to when they wanted to discuss these healthcare decisions? And what are the list of priorities? What are the surrogacy ladder that the doctors use? And what are the issues that arise when the doctors decide on who the SDM is? So before we go on to developing the guideline, we need to answer whether the issues are real. And for us to be able to do that, we decided to use the method of using a focus group discussion. So the focus group discussion is only part of the bigger study. This is only the second part of the study, and this presentation is to relay the results of this focus group discussion. So in the focus group discussion, we identified experts in the who is managing patients at the end of life. 4 anesthesiologists, ICU critical care doctors, and also 5 palliative care physicians who are involved in developing policies at the end of life in Malaysian hospitals. So the results were transcribed and analyzed according to the grounded theory. Okay, so what is the result of our study? The result of our study, we find that there are 18 sub-themes with 5 themes and in 3 categories overlapping each other. It would be the family, doctors, and system issues. And with the 5 themes, some of them are overlapping between the categories. And the first themes would be the role of the family, the doctor's family disagreement or conflict of opinions, the doctor's knowledge and skills, the awareness of advanced medical directives, and the availability of resources. This table shows the 18 sub-themes that we found from our focus group discussion. As you can see, doctors do have problems in communicating these difficult discussions with the family from the sub-themes here. Okay, the result of our second question, which is who do the doctors talk to, refer to when they needed to make these difficult decisions on behalf of an incapacitated patient. And this would be this hierarchy that the doctors told us. First, they would go to the spouse, and then the children, and then the parents, and then the siblings. So then we ask whether there are any issues surrounding the process of this, deciding who the surrogate decision makers are. So from that, we found 4 themes. And these are examples of verbatims when we talk about these 4 themes. The first is what are the culturally accepted hierarchy, like I mentioned earlier. And second, who is the spokesperson elected by the family to talk to the doctors? They might not be the spouse or the wife or whomever. We have to ask the patient, and then you have to follow that patient's request. And third issue that doctors highlighted were that because there are no legal provisions in Malaysia, it's very difficult for them to, explore everyone and then select one. If they have a guideline, then we can go straight to that document. And lastly, because in Malaysia, we have polygamous marriages, we have different cultural contexts. So it is very difficult for doctors to really zoom in and select one patient, one family members to actually talk to make these important decisions. So, to elaborate on the findings, I'll talk according to the 3 categories. In Asia and in Africa, patients usually forego their autonomous right to make decisions at the end of life. They usually leave it to the family and to the children. And usually in Malaysia, we usually allow the eldest sibling in the family to make the decision, even though they are not looking after the patient. It's usually the younger siblings. So from the studies, we also know that doctors have reduced knowledge in advanced medical directives. They don't go there with the patients and the family when they're well. They don't have the knowledge and the skills to talk about death and dying. And they do not have the reduced communication skills. That's how you have conflicts with patients and families in ICU as the patient is dying. And with regard to the system, there is very little human resources. There are little expertise in Malaysia to deal with patients who are dying. As at the moment, there's only 23 palliative care physicians in Malaysia looking after 37 million population. So that's a lot. Obviously, there are limitations to the study. We only asked 9 palliative care physicians in the central area. But the conclusion is that doctors in Malaysia face many issues when discussing end-of-life care and when determining the appropriate surrogate decision makers. And this may be similar to findings abroad, but there are also some issues which is very localized to the Malaysian culture. So our focus group discussion finds that there are some gaps. The need to develop a guideline for healthcare providers in Malaysia to help decide on the surrogate decision maker, especially in the context of the Malaysian Malaysian Muslim patients. So that would be on the 3rd phase of the next part of our study, which we'll present in another setting. I think that's the end of my presentation. I'm sorry about having to do it manually, but thank you.
That's perfect. Thank you. You are exactly on time. Exactly. Thank you so much. Let me ask you a quick question. This is nothing like my field, so forgive my ignorance. I was just interested why in the focus group you had so many, and if I can pronounce this, anesthesiologists. You had 4 of them. Why rather than the doctors themselves, or the whatever you call them?
Thank you for the question, Prof. So the anesthesiologists, they are critical care doctors. They work in the ICUs and they often face death and dying in patients who are in ICU. And these 4 experts, they are involved in developing policies and guidelines for end-of-life care in the ICU in Malaysia. And that's why they are invited to become part of our subject matter expert in the FGD.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that. Any questions from the floor? Excuse me a second. Okay. Any questions from the floor? No? Okay, well, listen, thank you, Dr. Ketterman. That was a very nice presentation. Thank you so much. Right, sorry about that, girls and boys. Right, I'm looking for, oh, another Miss Farah. Farah Raihana Ismail.
Okay, doctor, can you hear me?
I can. Good morning.
All right, good morning, doctor. Good morning, everyone. Okay, my name is Farah, and together today with my co-author, Dasa, we will present about the user-generated content and minimum birth decision-making process. I'm sure you know what is birth-place, a place to give birth. So it starts with user-generated content. Today, we are living in digital communication world where everything is on your fingertips. You know, of course, all of you have at least Facebook, Twitter account, or TikTok. So user-generated content enables people or everyone to connect endlessly. And it's for consumer behavior, consumer decision process. UGC is very important for service product because you cannot see, you cannot feel the product. So you read others' review. You depend on others' review and opinion testimonials. So our research is looking at how UGC influence millennium in choosing place to give birth. Okay, why are we looking at millennial generation? Because millennial generation is the digital native. They are not similar with like baby boomers or a generation before. They are digital native. Of course, nowadays they have name, any social media account, they have it. So they share, and then millennium is at most or in the market right now. They are booming generations. And then why we are looking at birthplace? Birthplace decision because there's a rise of consumerism in healthcare industry, where women no longer want to be treated as a patient. They want to be treated as a consumer. When they walk into the hospital, they want to be treated as a consumer, not as a patient. Sorry. All right, and then apparently UGC, what we have on the digital communication platform somehow contribute to information overflow. So by information overflow, people can actually easily access to falsify information or untrue viral messages. So it can lead to unsafe birth practices because there is a rising concern about Malaysia. In Malaysia, we are moving backward to home birth practices. All right. So, and then because our government is tries to reduce maternal mortality, we try to reduce the death between mothers and the babies. And then one thing, millennial is not anti-vessel. They are no longer regarded to doctor-patient relationship. I go and see a doctors, and then doctor will advise me you should go give birth at the hospital. No, they come with with knowledge in their head. All right, let's move on. Sorry, the research aim. So the research aim. So the research is aimed to understand how this UGC platform, social media and everything, influence millennium decision-making process in choosing birthplace, and the credibility, to what extent the source is credible, they trust the source, all right? So this is, if you notice, this is a problem statement. If you notice, this is what's happening currently, okay? The preacher, the influencer, actually debated online saying that mothers should not be attended by male doctors. It's against the law. It's against the Sharia. So it's something that has been debated. If you can see what they commented here. So you need to give me 10,000 K so I can give birth in a private hospital. So this actually contributes to contextual perspective and theoretical perspective. In terms of contextual perspective, of course, I have mentioned before, rising cases of home birth among millennial moms. Because of this, they are afraid of what if I don't get male doctors? Or should my husband overtake the job? So maybe at last minute, they can change the decision. So that's we want to see. How actually UGC influence decision. And then, of course, consumerism again. They want to be treated as consumer, not a patient, because giving birth is not a disease. It's your choice, right? You cannot get pregnant and then, oh, I don't want to give birth. Of course, you need to give birth. So it's a choice. All right. So they meant to be treated as a patient, not consumer. And of course, information overflow. This kind of information can actually, you can be surprised if you read what they have been discussed. Oh my God. All right. So in terms of theoretical, of course, birth study has been done extensively, but it's been viewed by through medical lenses, doctors and practitioners and things. And then it's actually absent. It doesn't look at specific generation cohort. So it's interesting to look at millennial generation and preceding a generation. And then, of course, service product. There's decision-making process on service product, but mainly on tourism industry. So this is literature review. Basically, you can see what is UGC. Chang say that UGC is any form of media, picture, video, meme, even memes shared over the UGC platform. We call it as UGC. Okay, it has been say that here it assists decision-making process. Of course, for service, if you never first-time mothers, you never experienced it, so you're going to refer to others' review. And then, okay, this is a content. It's content high credibility and trust. And surprisingly, negative content, yes, negative words spread faster than positive word, like just now we have discussed, the viral TikTok. And then in terms of UGC and service decision-making, intangibility, of course, service again. And this one, it's not surprised. Women are prone to UGC, gossip. All right, they like to gossip online. So in terms of birth decision making, so these authors actually looking from the medical perspective, they do agree that experience is vital. Of course, in service industry, you have to look for experience to understand what the context is all about. So, and then say 90% women agree UGC is reliable and influence decision making, and information overload can affect the decision. Right. So in sums, the LR actually uncovered that prior studies actually didn't focus on generation cohort differences and into the developing countries. The study study more on developed countries in UK, in US. You can see they study hard on home birth and everything. So methodology in short, so this is a qualitative preliminary research. The participants are selected, of course, the age of 22 to 35, reside in KL area, Greater Kuala Lumpur area, of course, have given birth before, and either in government or hospital, private hospital, or both. All right, so 3 participants using maximum variation sampling. This is why I'm using maximum variation sampling, because I need to see how UGC influence those who give birth in government hospital only, in private hospital only, or both. All right, and data collections, in-depth interview, and analyzed using Kalaisi descriptive analysis. So the findings. It's missing out here one, actually. So it turned out to be minimum using UGC to verify and rectify the information they have in hand. For example, like just now we've seen the viral TikTok, so they already have the information. So they're using UGC to verify, oh, is this correct? Is it correct, this kind of information? So they connect with others asking, is it true what you hear? Is it true what is being posted? So this is the preliminary finding, number 1. Actually, number 2 is trustworthiness here. And transparency. For them, Million Mom, they say that UGC provide a reality check. Means everything that they read in social media is actually portray someone real experience, not something made up by marketers. So they trust UGC more than doctors, actually. They say Google is their doctor. All right. So this is a demographic profile. And then this is the 2 main sources that they're referring. Facebook and blogs. Surprisingly, they love to read blogs, right? They love to read blogs. So on part of discussion, of course, it's parallel with the findings of before, which is other reviews are crucial, and then they rely on UGC during pregnancy and childbirth. And then, of course, findings looking at the verifying and rectifying information. So to sum up the presentation, I would like to hand over to my co-author, Dr. Asad. Dr. Asad, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Farah. It is a pleasure to be here. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to present our study. I would like to present the conclusion part, where we have found that UGC is an indispensable source for the millennial generation moms' birthplace decisions. We have also found that trustworthy and credible sources are also playing significant role when they are deciding about the birthplace decisions. Furthermore, our findings denotes that we would like to conclude that millennial moms rely on others' experience, since they would like to see what about other moms are doing while they were pregnant. And we have also can tell you that others' experience influence significantly birthplace decisions of the millennial moms. So that's all from my part. My colleague will be explaining more in details. Thank you, Farah. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Asad. Thank you. All right. Yeah. On behalf, this is my team. Just now presenting is Dr. Asad. Another one is Dr. Norshida is there. And then actually, this is my supervisor. I'm doing a PhD. And surprisingly, I'm having my Viva the next day.
Okay, thank you.
Alhamdulillah.
So Dr. David?
Are you finished, Dr. Farah?
Yeah, I'm finished already.
Okay, jolly good, jolly good. Right, before I throw it to the floor, I've got two important questions, two questions that are bothering me. First of all, why only 3 respondents? This really puzzles me.
All right. This is an interesting question. Thank you, Dr. David. Why 3 respondents? Because this is a qualitative phenomenology. Phenomenology, for phenomenology research, one participant is actually adequate because you study the lived experience. You study in detail, in depth, the experience of that particular phenomenon. For in this case, is millennial decision-making process. So actually, one of the paramount researcher on phenomenology, which is Mustakas, if you're familiar, Mustakas published a book about loneliness using himself as a subject. So that is phenomenology. Phenomenology study about lived experience. You don't require lots of participants because phenomenology require you to meet the participant over and over again to check and balance. And then one more thing is a preliminary research. 3 considered enough, but 1 also is acceptable.
Well, I was going to say, you know, if you take that approach, then surely 1 would be sufficient. So why did you do 3?
Okay.
In this case, 3 is not sufficient because I'm using maximum variation sampling. Maximum variation sampling is I try to gather information because birthplace setting, commonly we have 3 types. Hospital birth, home birth, and institutional birth. Birth center. But in Malaysia, the common practice is private hospital and government hospital. So different birthplace setting have a different decision-making process. So I need to see, that's why I'm using maximum variation sampling to see the variation among the participants. So those who are giving birth in government hospital, what would be the decision-making process? Is it similar with private? Or those who are having both government and private, do they have the same decision-making process? So in this study, it turned out to be similar. It's just that different priority. The context, the factors is different. So yeah, I'm not using 3 because I'm implementing, I'm looking at the nature of the context of the study and the sampling technique that I'm using.
Okay, I'd like to pursue that further, but I don't want to hold the conversation. Any questions from the floor, please? Any questions?
One question.
Yes.
So, sorry, I'm sitting in front of you, but I may be a little bit. Okay. When you mentioned about first place, it is actually either hospitals, private hospitals or
Government hospital.
How about location of the hospital?
Yes, that's actually, this is only a fragment of my entire research. My research is actually understanding male mom decision-making process in choosing birthplace. What are the process from the consumer perspective, because for this extensively looking from medical practice. So from the consumer practice, and then what are the factors? And surprisingly, they say that from the 6 participants, I actually interviewed 6 participants, they said that cost, financial factor is the least factor they consider, but location and distance-wise, number 1 factors. They said that location-wise is very important because what if they have a sudden birth, emergency birth, something, so they need a hospital that located near to them.
I mentioned this because there are also situations that I heard. The state where the
daughters.
I mean the mom and the fathers as well.
Yeah.
So how that to be included in your study here?
Come again, the question. When
I can't remember my question really, but the state where the location of the birth for this mom can also be one of the consideration. In fact, like Putrajaya and Selangor and Kelantan or Sarawak and Sabah, because they are also,
yeah.
Do you actually include at least if it is not the main focus, but
actually, just like in this, the study, the methodology itself, the sampling should be focused on GKL, Greater Kuala Lumpur area first, because GKL is under NKEA. Program 11 is to improvise the healthcare quality. They want to transform KL, Kuala Lumpur area, into a healthcare metropolis. So in order to do that, they need to ensure that the maternal mortality rate is low and service quality is good. So yeah, but future research is very interesting to embark another state to see, why this giving birth at this state. Sometimes, yes, the mother say that I'm from Kelantan, I want to have a confinement in Kelantan, but suddenly you give birth in Kuala Lumpur. So it is unpredictable, but it's very interesting to look at. All right, thank you.
Okay, so we're looking for Dr. Nuridaya. Dr. Nuridaya, I think.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our presentation. Thank you very much for inviting me to be a part of the Malaysian research team. I am Dr. Ala Abu Khalifa. I'm from Jordan. So I have lived in Malaysia for almost 10 years before I left Malaysia in 2018. So I was a PhD student in Universiti Science Malaysia in Penang. And after I completed my PhD in Hotel and Tourism Management, I got the job in Kuala Lumpur and MSU, Management of Science University, for 3 years. And then in 2018 August, I decided to live to another country. So since 2018 until now, I'm resided in South Korea. And I've been in Musong University for more than 4 years. And I'm very happy today to see all of you, although it's a recording, and to present our paper with my research team in Malaysia. So let me start this morning with our paper presentation. Our paper, as I mentioned, is about the food truck in Klang Valley, Malaysia, which is the area that I lived there before. So my research team now, Dr. Nuridaya Abdullah, Norita Ishaq, and Nazmi Saad, and myself. So for today, we will discuss and talk about a very important trend in Asian country, which is the food truck, specifically in Klang Valley, Malaysia. So let's see together what is the culture bit and what is the reality of food truck in Klang Valley, Malaysia. Now, let me start with the introduction. As you can see here, food truck has been discussed in many literature review and in many Asian countries, as I mentioned before. So the food truck or mobile food service is now a trending food center development that attracts people to visit for food. And it's being reported from global food trucks market size was valued at $3.93 billion USD in 2020. And is expected to expand as a compound annual growth rate, CAGR of 6.8% from 2021 to 2028 globally. This is according to market analysis in 2020. And this is due to the simply yet profitable type of businesses. However, cannot neglect the need of Food Hygiene Code of Practice in 1974. The Codex General Principles of Food Hygiene Regulation EC number 852 in 24, Hygiene of Food Stuff Complaint. To ensure the premise, vacancies always meet the specifications, since their businesses will be issued to closure if fails to comply with the regulations. Malaysia has a low food poisoning rate, with 48 occurrences per 100,000 people population. And Malaysia food poisoning incident increased by 23.69% in 2019 compared to the previous years. And even though foodborne illness incidents are rarely discussed, if basic sanitation isn't in place, foodborne disease is likely. So the main objective of our research paper is to identify the level of consumers' agreement on food truck hygiene satisfaction, and to identify the relationship between premise cleannesses, food handlers' cleannesses, as well as food quality on customers' hygiene satisfaction. And objective number 3, to examine the most dominant factor that contribute to food truck consumers' hygiene satisfaction. And here there is some part of the literature review that discuss food cleannesses, food premises, and so on, food hygiene as well. Premises cleannesses, known as important factor for consumer while choosing a restaurant, which led to satisfaction. And the cleannesses inside the food truck, the proper storage of food with appropriate labeling, preparation of the food, ventilation and clean water sources, emergency safety equipment, and proper disposal of waste. Personal hygiene of food handlers was a significant factor contributing to customer satisfaction and their intention to revisit. And this is the proper clean attire and hygiene attitude is mandatory, according to many sources, such as Leo and Lee in 2018. The cleanliness has been an important equality attributed on tourist satisfaction. And finally, another factors that may affect hygiene satisfaction is food quality, which is the most important factors, according to Lamkong and Zhang in 2008. Food quality initials food taste, presentation, temperature, freshness, nutrition, and menu variety. Food quality influences customers' decision to revisit the restaurant, according to Breakout and the Forbes 2020. This study used and applied a quantitative research approach by implementing a correlational research design that involves a cross-sectional study in which the data were only gathered at once or a certain period of time. Now, our research methodology is combined and complied with a self-administered online survey questionnaire that's segmented into 5 sections. The first section, demographic profile, food premise cleannesses, food handlers cleannesses, product quality, and customers' hygiene satisfaction. And the questionnaire has been distributed among individuals aged between 18 years old and above with experiences in purchasing food from food truck. And altogether, 116 respondents were involved. The survey was conducted on 4 zones of food truck valley in Klang Valley area, and is a reasonable study location to be chosen, which include Bushong, Shah Alam, and Klang, Bangi, Kejang, and Serdang. Second part and third part of Putrajaya and Kuala Lumpur, fourth, in May until 13th June 2020. An online survey was used to collect data with the screening questions provided to ensure only eligible respondents were involved in this study. And finally, the data collected were analyzed using SPSS software version 26 for descriptive correlational and regression analysis. Now, this is the results. This is some of the results and the discussion. Professor AMER Hidayah will continue the presentation. Thank you very much and have a great conference.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ala. All right, so I shall continue with the result and discussion.
You have 2 minutes left, so if you can speed it up, that would be good.
Okay, sure, Doctor.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right, okay, I shall continue with the results and discussion. So basically of all 116 respondents involved, okay, most of them, or majority of them actually is female, and then with carry about 79.3%. And then basically of all the 4 zones, majority are from the Klang Valley area. Okay, and then surprisingly, about 31.9% of the respondents actually live outside of the Klang Valley. So it shows that they go to the Klang Valley or the food truck valley to get the foods. Okay. Okay, so for the food premise cleanliness, okay, we can see that most of the respondents did agree that food truck actually they are in a good or clean environment, right? In terms of kitchen, okay, and then the food actually being covered to keep away from flies and so on. Okay, and then beside that, the respondent also agreed that basically food truck having a very good ventilation system with 89.7% agreement shown. Okay, so this is a very important surrounding for the food truck to make sure that the food being served to the consumers is safe to be consumed. Okay, in terms of food handler cleanliness, okay, consumers also agree that food handler actually apply proper hygiene practice during handling food, whereby they are using a clean utensils, clean apron, as well as they always wear their hat and also cap, right, to prevent any hair falls. But unfortunately, they can observe that majority of the food truck food handler actually still did not wearing gloves, and also they are still wearing their jewelry during preparing and also during serving the food product to the consumers. Okay, however, okay, most of the consumers or respondents agree that overall the quality of food served in the food truck is safe, is tasty, good quality, and also in acceptable serving temperature. And they are also using the proper and also suitable container to serve the food. Okay, as well as there's a lot of variety of food being offered, and also in the affordable price as well. Okay.
You're kind of out of time, so could you kind of speed it up and summarize it for us, please?
All right, okay, all right. So I think we can go to straight away to the summarize. Okay, so overall, we can see actually overall the consumers really accepted or are really happy with the cleanliness of food truck. But at the same time, we also can see there's some relationship between all variable and also between all the dependent variable and also independent variable, and then of all food quality actually is the best predictors. Okay, however, since the study only been conducted in Klang Valley, so it cannot be used to represent the overall result for overall population. So with that, I think thank you so much. I'm so sorry because the time's taken. Okay, thank you for
That's fine. Thank you. That was fine. Couple of quick questions, if I may. Where am I? You said it was an online survey. How did you identify your participants?
Okay, at the first place, okay, basically we having the what we call including what inclusive and also exclusive practice. Okay, whereby we try to approach the Majlis Perbandaran, okay, and then at the first place we get the numbers, and then we are using the various platform actually. All right, we are using the Instagram, Facebook, and so on, and then we ask them to answer the screening question first, and then if they are inclusive in our or they comply with all the characteristics that been set up for the inclusive factors, then only that they've been recruited to participate in this online survey. But besides that, we also do have another face-to-face survey as well. So online survey actually is one of the medium, so-called as favorable medium that time due to the COVID-19 pandemic and so on.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. Do I have any questions from the floor, please?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was that purposely done, or is it just happen that they are much more responsive to your questionnaire?
Okay, so what I can say is that based on the previous study, okay, female is more responsive. Okay, I did agree in terms of that. But at the same time, because this study is conducted in the Klang Valley area, so I believe with the hectic work life and so on, so most probably what I can say, maybe what we call a woman nowadays is more tends to spend their time with the family in food truck rather than cook themselves at home, right? Yeah, that's may also another reason why female actually is the dominant respondent in this study. All right.
And one of the things that I also observed that I just wondering whether they actually went to the kitchens and actually, because food truck is sometimes quite high on pedestal, right? So they have observed that the cleanliness, because you ask whether the kitchen is clean or something like that. So this is also something that I mean you have to be very careful as well. And finally, your SD, standard deviations. I'm not sure how you actually use the SD as the measure in which you make a decision, whether that is an important findings or things like that. So this is very important as well. Otherwise, you can actually make any kind of conclusion to your study. That's very interesting.
Thank you so much, Prof. I'm going to look into it. Thank you so much.
Okay, do I have any more questions? Okay, that's cool. Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc.
And we're looking for, I can't pronounce, I'm sorry, this one, Miss Sharif. Iron Nanorashitin Sharif.
Okay, hi Prof. My name is Hairina. You can call me Hairina. Okay, so I should start now. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to all. I'm Hairina Rajki Sharif, and these are my team members. Dr. Sidru Suryani, my SV, Dr. my co-SV, and also Ms. Asif Utama. So the title of my presentation today is the integrations of ethics into radiation protection practice through Islamic personality approach. Okay, for the introduction, okay, medical imaging, we use X-ray, medical X-rays. So medical X-rays, the use of medical X-rays in medical imaging, okay, it introduces the usefulness, which is to provide the internal human body images for diagnostic purpose, but also it may cause risk to the living cells that is can generate ionizing radiation. Okay, so we can there are two risks: the determinative effect and also the somatic effect. The somatic effect is the long-term effect caused by the use of ionizing radiation in medical imaging field. So, to deal with the ionizing radiation, so we have radiation protection guideline for radiographers to follow. Okay, this guideline is to protect staff, patients, and also the public from the harmful effect of radiation by using the appropriate techniques, equipment, and also shielding materials. And the issue is here is the non-adherence of the from the radiographers to these radiation protection standards. Okay, non-adherence to the standard So next, okay, the objective of my presentation today is to review the integrations of radiation protection ethics into radiation protection practice through an approach of Islamic personality. Okay, thus this is the literature review. Okay, there are three frameworks of radiation protections, which are the justification, optimization, and also those limitation. This framework is set up by the International Commissions on Radiation Protection. Again, this is the framework that has been used by radiographers in dealing with patients in medical imaging field. Okay, and then one document, which is the bond call for action. Okay, sorry for the technical problem because the slide problem. Okay, I should continue. Okay, so the next, the bond call for action, it is due to International Conference on Radiation Protection in 2020. The objective is to strengthen the implementations of the concept of justification and optimization principles in radiation protection practice. Okay, so these are the literature review in the case of non-adherence from radiographers' part to the guideline of radiation protection practice. Okay, non-adherence is not a small problem; it's a big problem worldwide faced by radiographers. Even though we have the guidelines of radiation protection practice to protect the patients, but then still radiographers fail to follow the guidelines. Okay, this is not a good medical practice because a good medical practice is based on fulfilling the principles of biomedical ethics. These are the four principles: beneficence, non-maleficence, autonomy, and also the justice. So, in my review, I aim to integrate the element of ethics into radiation protection practice by the approach of Islamic personality. Okay, this is a cultural approach. Why culture? Because culture is the important factors in determining an individual to act ethically, and religion is a part of culture. Okay, next, the methodology. Okay, this is the methods of review. The first is to define the research question, why ethics and Islamic personality should be integrated in radiation protection practice. And the literature review focus among radiographers only in medical imaging field. Okay, next, the literature review was synthesized and stored based on the theme. The first theme is ethics, the second theme is radiation protection practice, and the third theme is the Islamic personality. The literature review was analyzed and the review is elaborated. Okay, and for the result and discussion, okay, this is the result. The first, the element of ethics is rarely recognized in medical imaging field. Okay, this is due to the publications in medical imaging fields rarely address the ethical foundations of radiation protection practice. Okay, and then the current framework of radiation protection, which consists of justifications, optimization, and those limitations, these three frameworks lacks in terms of ethics actually. So it is very important because ethics is something which is very important, and this framework, according to Zainuddin, could not guarantee on the adherence part from radiographers due to limited legal standings. Okay, since the framework of radiation protection and also the framework of ethics share the similar themes, okay, it is in that these two concepts could be met and integrate together. So there is a term in medical imaging which is the radiation protection culture. Okay, RPC is combining the science, value, ethics, and experience to promote the radiation protection practice. Okay, so Islamic personality is seen as one of the alternatives to integrate culture into radiation protection practice to overcome the issue of non-adherence among radiographers. Okay, so next, Islamic personality and Islamic ethics in radiation protection practice. As in Islam, Islamic personality is a way of life in which it consists of an approach that connects every aspect of Muslim behavior, attitude, and also emotion. Okay, thus the Islamic personality in the Islamic religion is formed by the Islamic creed, which is the oneness of Allah as God and the Prophet Muhammad as the messenger of Allah. Thus, the Islamic personality and Islamic ethics, a strong foundations of Islamic personality will uphold Islamic ethics, because in Islamic ethics it is to recognize what is right and wrong according to the teaching of Al-Quran and also the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, next, okay, by personalizing Islamic personality into radiation protection practice, okay, thus the Muslim radiographer is obligated to follow radiation protection guidelines which is the good deeds that benefit the patient and avoid wrongdoing. The wrongdoing here refers to the non-adherent as it harms the patients. Okay, promoting the good deeds and preventing wrongdoings aligns with the concept of Islamic personality. Okay, good deed will be given good reward by God, and performing bad deeds and sinful action will be punished. Okay, so next is the concept of Islamic personality from Al-Ghazali's theory. Al-Ghazali is a Muslim scholar. There are two concepts to help a Muslim radiographer to reach the full potential as Muslim. The first one is to fight against the immoral qualities, which is non-adherence to the radiation protection practice. And the second one is to control and teach themselves to begin performing the good deeds, which is to obey to the radiation protection guideline. Next, okay, this is the concept of Islamic bioethics, which based on the principle of Maqasid al-Sharia. Okay, there are 5 objectives in Islamic bioethics by which Muslim radiographers should follow this bioethics. The first one, okay, the radiation protection practice in medical imaging is to protect the faith of the patient and also the radiographer. The second one is to preserve the life of patients and also radiographer. The third one is to preserve the mind. Okay, the fourth one is to preserve the progeny and also honor. And the fifth one is to preserve the property. Okay, so this is the application by which, when the radiographer fulfills the obligation, the radiographer helps to protect the faith and also the religious duties. Okay, when the radiographer using radiation protection, okay, it could help to avoid any future medical complication. Okay, next, to preserve the mind, okay, applying adequate radiation protection. Okay, one of the examples of radiation protection is to apply shielding on the patient when the patient is having the X-ray procedure, and to limit the collimation of the X-ray field. Okay, so sometimes this is very important, but research shows that in worldwide, radiographers still cannot follow this guideline. Okay, so this will confuse on the patient's part, because patients may see different attitudes of radiographer, and patients may start to question about the individual values of professionalism. Okay, next, the radiation protection. Okay, the main objective is to for pregnant women of the childbearing age and also the children. Okay, special consideration should be given on them. So the special radiation protection, okay, should be applied on them. Okay, so by giving a special radiation protection on women and childbearing age, this act is to protect and preserve the progeny and also the honor of the patient. Okay, and the last is to preserve the property. If a medical condition is introduced due to non-compliance with the radiation protection guidelines, the subsequent medical treatment can deplete the sufferer's financial resources. So this is the conclusion from this review, which is the integrating of ethics into radiation protection practice. The first one, ethics is essential element to be upheld in radiation protection practice in medical imaging. Okay, this scope of research could be expanded to identify better the relevant attributes of Islamic personality. Okay, and then further study to evaluate the methods of ethics integration in radiation protection through Islamic personality approach will benefit patients, radiographers, and also the public. Any manuals or guidelines for Islamic personality application in radiation protection developed in the future would helpful, because it could enhance the current standard of radiation protection practice. And above all this, the right of patient to have a safe procedure in medical imaging practice should be honored. Okay, with that, thank you very much. So any question and any comment is welcome, because I will appreciate all this.
Great, thank you, Ms. Sharif. Thank you so much. I have a quick question relating mainly to page 8, the resultant discussion. Because I'm looking at that page 8, now there's a preservation of faith category there, and the other 4 categories seem to be not related directly to any religious beliefs. And also the one which does the preservation of faith doesn't seem, it seems to be a general statement. It doesn't seem to be based on any kind of result. So the short question for me is, what do you see as the key differences between Muslim and non-Muslim practices in this field? What's the main difference?
Okay, thank you very much, Prof, for the questions. Okay, so the issue of non-adherence towards radiation protection practice is not the issue relate to religion, because we have, as I show in my literature, the radiographers in Muslim countries and also non-Muslim countries contribute to this issue of non-compliance to the radiation protection practice. So we have cases in Nigeria, the cases in India, even in Italy. So in my part, okay, so I integrate the approach of Islamic personality, because the culture in Malaysia, Malaysia is the majority of radiographers in Malaysia is Muslim. Okay, so this 5 concepts of Maqasid Sharia is relevant to be integrated in the practice of radiation protection, mainly in Muslim country as Malaysia, and I focus on Muslim radiographers because in Malaysia we have many hospital and health institution which is Sharia hospital and also Islamic friendly hospital. So this scope of review is focusing on the Muslim radiographer and also the healthcare setting, which based on the Islamic Sharia and also Islamic friendly hospital.
Okay, didn't quite answer the question, but that's okay. Leave that one with you. One other question, and we'll throw it to the floor. You mentioned you analyzed the literature. How did you analyze the literature? What method did you use for the analysis? Okay,
for the analyzing the literature, so I divided into a team. The first one is ethics, the second one is radiation protection practice, and the third one is Islamic personality. So the literature review is analyzed based on these 3 areas.
Okay. Okay. Any questions from the floor, please? Come on, chaps. I know you're dying to ask questions. There you go. I saw the hand wave.
We have a question here. How many times in a year someone can receive X-ray safely? Okay, so thank you for the question. So X-ray is a general term. So we have different imaging modalities. So the general modalities, general X-ray is like we have the chest X-ray, and the general X-ray is the skull X-ray and everything. That's one modality. So we have another one which is the CT scan. CT scan is using ionizing radiation. We have the mammography, is also using ionizing radiation. So how many a person can have X-ray in a year? It depends on what modality the person is going to have. Okay, if CT scan is a high radiation dose compared to general X-ray. So if you are using general X-ray for those procedure, maybe you have chest X-ray. So we have the dose reference level. So we should refer to the dose reference level. So the radiographer should aware if the patient has repeated X-ray procedure. So means the patient can have, let's say, to follow up the treatment given. So the patient can have a monthly procedure, monthly X-ray procedure. So for that kind of patient, radiographer should aware on the dose given to the patient. So what I can say is depends on what is the procedure that patient is having to have. So if the patient is having a CT scan procedure, it is higher dose compared to general X-ray. And also mammography. Mammography is a yearly screening for human at the age of 40 and above. So mammography should have a higher doses than the general X-ray. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody anybody online wants to ask a question? No? Okay, well, thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you. Okay, so I'm looking for Miss Xiao Yu Hu?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, welcome. Good, well, you have the floor, go for it.
Okay, now please allow me to share my screen.
Please.
Am I sharing now? Okay, a very good morning to the chairperson, Dr. David, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hu Xiaoyu, a PhD candidate from Sagi University. My supervisor is Prof. Dr. Guo Nam. Today, I'd like to present a topic regarding exploring positive psychology factors in the quality of EFL classroom life, a case study. My co-presenter is Mr. Lu Xin from Shanxi University, China. I will start with the background of the study. Quality of classroom life is critical in all learning environments, including learning English as a foreign language. Today, English has become a global language. Almost every country, including China, attaches importance to English language teaching and learning. Although China has embraced the teaching and learning of English for the past few decades, studies have shown that most of Chinese EFL students have failed to reach the required English language performance. So my question is, why is this happening? Why are Chinese EFL students not performing well in English language learning? Some scholars argue that Chinese students live in a homogeneous and exam-oriented environment, which is quite challenging for English language learning. So what is the solution? What can we do to provide quality of EFL classroom life in order to improve Chinese students' English language performance? There are many studies that have been conducted onto this issue. The majority of the studies have looked into the internal and external factors that can affect language learning, such as curriculum, instruction, culture, age, anxiety, and motivation. But today, there is a global shift towards positive psychology, which postulates that if the well-being is not there, the learning is not there. Positive psychology has recently emerged in the field of language learning. This study focused on two positive factors, foreign language enjoyment and the growth mindset, which are the buzzwords in 2021 and 2022. So what is positive psychology? I will pass to my dear friend, Mr. Lu Xin, to present the next 3 slides.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, a very good morning to everyone. I'm Lu Xin from Shanxi University, China. I'm presenting the literature review and research methodology. Positive psychology is known as the scientific study of positive human functioning and flourishing. As a new orientation of psychology, positive psychology has been used to study the positive aspects in life, including positive emotional experience and positive individual characteristics. With the recent integration of the positive psychology into language learning, research has moved into looking at the development of language learners' strengths instead of their limitations. Two positive factors that have been gained in increasing attention are foreign language enjoyment and growth mindset. Enjoyment is an emotion that people feel their basic needs are met, or they accomplish something unexpected, or surprisingly beyond themselves. Growth mindset is being seen as a crucial motivating factor that enhances language learning. People with growth mindset hold the belief that a person's learning ability can be enhanced through effort. Even though there's a growing interest in the significant roles of foreign language enjoyment and growth mindset in language learning, the influence of these two positive factors in English learning performance remain underexplored and unknown. Therefore, in order to investigate the quality of life in EFL classroom, this study investigated the relationship between foreign language enjoyment, growth mindset, and English language performance. Accordingly, the research objectives for this study were as follows. R1 and R2 are to examine EFL classroom quality in life, where students' level of foreign language enjoyment and growth mindset. R3, to determine the effects of foreign language enjoyment and the growth mindset in English language performance. This study utilized an explanatory sequential research design with a mixed message approach. It involved 388 second-year EFL students in one public university in China. Data were collected via an online survey questionnaire, an English language performance test, and semi-structured interviews. The confirmatory factors analyzed and internal consistencies were conducted to ensure the validity and reliability of the research instruments. The quantitative data were analyzed descriptively and inferentially, while the qualitative data were analyzed thematically. Thank you very much for listening to my presentation. Back to you, Xiaoyu.
All right, thank you, Lu Xin. Now, please allow me to present the findings and discussion of this study. AQoL investigated EFL classroom quality of life via students' level of foreign language enjoyment. The quantitative results indicated a moderate to high quality of classroom life, and this was reflected in students' level of foreign language enjoyment. The findings were in line with these studies. However, the qualitative findings showed a mixed response. Although students with high language performance enjoyed learning English because they had a sense of achievement, students with limited and average language performance did not find their English language learning enjoyable because of the negative feedback given by their English teacher or test-related stress. AQoL2 looked into EFL classroom quality of life via students' level of growth mindset. The findings reveal that quality of EFL classroom life in terms of growth mindset ranged between moderate to high level. These findings echo some previous studies. However, the interview data revealed mixed findings. Students with high language performance were hopeful about their English language ability because they felt that their hard work had paid off, while students with limited and average language performance did not believe their English language ability could be improved significantly because of their poor speaking skills or listening skills. AQoL3 investigated the effects of foreign language enjoyment and the growth mindset on English language performance. This figure displayed the standardized estimates for the structural model, which yielded excellent model fit. The results indicate that foreign language enjoyment and growth mindset had significant direct effects on English language performance. Overall, 43% of English language performance could be explained by foreign language enjoyment and growth mindset. The findings of this study were supported by existing studies. Now let's move to the implication of the study. This study implies that if learners enjoy learning and possess a growth mindset, they are more likely to obtain higher English language performance. It is therefore recommended that EFL instructors create fun and positive learning environments to encourage students to learn English with a growth mindset. Instructors can highlight how setbacks can be used constructively rather than dismissing them as a sign of inaptitude. Instructors are also advised to promote a calm and supportive atmosphere in their classrooms by assigning learning activities that could stimulate students' engagement, like role-playing and group discussions. This study is not without limitations. The participants were EFL students from one university in China, and it is recommended that future studies involve a more extensive samples throughout China or other contexts to replicate the results of the study. However, the findings have shed light on the burgeoning field of positive psychology and the importance for EFL instructors to create quality EFL learning environments for positive learning gains. This is the end of my presentation. Thanks for your kind attention. I'm looking forward to your feedback to further enhance my study.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Xiao and Mr. Liu. Thank you so much. If I may kick off a quick question. In your conclusion, you state that success comes from a positive learning environment. Success comes from a positive learning environment. When I was looking through it, it seems that you were exploring student enjoyment rather than student success. So that's the first question, how you differentiate between student enjoyment and student success. And number two, you don't give any definition of what you consider to be a positive learning experience. Positive learning environment. That's my second question.
Yes, Dr. David, for your first question, in my study, the foreign language enjoyment is explored as the independent variable, which will have, in my study, I propose that foreign language enjoyment will have significant influence on English language performance, which is the dependent variable. So I hope this answers your question.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, and the second one, what do you consider, how would you define a positive learning environment, just for clarification?
I think a positive environment should be created, at least in the EFL classroom, by the EFL instructors. That means the EFL instructors, we should make the learning enjoyable process for the students. To make language learning enjoyable, we should make the learning meaningful. For example, we can give language learning a context where it will take place. Then the students will know where to use the language. And of course, additionally, we can also, with so much technology, we can put the whole virtual environment for students. This will make learning more relevant. And also we can put students in an English learning environment. Maybe students will get more chance to practice English.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I won't pursue that. It's just an interesting for me, particularly as a foreigner in a foreign language in a foreign country. I struggle with language all the time, and it's very easy to say we want a comfortable or we want a successful environment, but then to actually define what constitutes that is a lot more difficult. So I'll just leave that one with you. It's no criticism of your paper. It's simply an observation on my part. That's fine. Thank you. Any questions from the floor or from the internet or from anywhere? Questions, please. Come. I think you're off the hook, Miss Yao. That's great. Well, thank you so much for the presentation, both of you. That was really good. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. Okay, and so go to my reference sheet. Okay, so we're looking for Mr. Rashid. Hey, Mr. Rashid Atting. Yes, making his way to the podium. Rapid rate of knots. There you go.
Hi everyone, good morning. Okay, here actually, because actually for today I am presenting our research about teaching competency in the digital era in Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines. For the first author of this paper actually is Dr. Jong Kim Lee. The lady is the one there. Okay, and actually Rashid is me. And we have also Professor Ismin, Associate Professor Arif March, and we have Associate. We have also Associate Professor Marika. Okay, this is actually a study that we do in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Philippines. And then for the number of the authors, maybe you see you might see it's how to say, because if you see compared to the other papers, the number is quite a lot. So I just want to thank you organizer for giving our these chances. Okay. I don't want to waste the time. I will start. This is the background for our study. Okay, I just want to summarize the background for our study. Actually, the main reason why we do our research is actually because of the pandemic COVID-19. because during the pandemic, COVID-19, most of the study has been shifted because previously we always do physically face-to-face, but due to the COVID-19, we have to change the method to we have to change it to the online learning. However, because of this online learning, the class is the class actually is all the class is actually for the class we have Google Meet, Zoom, and we have many others. This is actually because of the COVID-19 we cannot face to face, so we have to do this kind of thing. Okay, and then actually in most of the Southeast Asian nation, because you can see in here the development of the teaching competency in the Southeast Asian nation we have in here, and this actually developed by the Southeast Asian Minister of Education. The author, the sources there is wrong actually, so I want to apologize for that, and that is my mistake, my bad for that. Just want to show you the important thing in here. Actually in Malaysia, we have the Education Development Plan, NEDP 2001 until 2020. And if you compare in here, most likely Malaysia just only have one, but compared to the others Southeast Asian country like Brunei and Thailand, they have three. Okay, next. Okay, this is the problem of our study. This I think I have been explained before, but I just want to explain it again. Okay, teaching. I think this one I can skip already. Okay, objective of the study. Research investigate the challenge faced when teaching in the digital environment and identifies the digital competency among lecturers in higher education in digital era. So for our study, we target on lecturer in higher education. Also, we target the lecturer in we target for the lecturer in the public uni and also others. Okay, literature review for this one. Okay, we have adoption of study, adoption of digital technology, development of digital learning resource, facilitating digital learning, communication skill in digital teaching and learning, numeracy skill in digital teaching and learning, problem solving skill in digital teaching and learning, competency teaching in the digital era. All of this actually is related to the lecturer itself, because for the lecturer they need to have the material, and then for that kind of thing, for our study, this kind of thing that we want to measure. We want to measure how they develop digital learning, because for the lecturer they need to come up with the slide and facilitating digital learning, how they want to, for the class, because it's already changed, so how they want to make it so everyone can involve. Communication, how they want to communicate, numeracy skill, how they want to give the information in the most simple way so the student can understand. This is some of the explanation about for our literature review. And then for research framework, what we have here, we have the same one. Like before, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 DB and 1 IB. Okay. For methodology, what we have here is actually for our study, like I have mentioned earlier, to measure the teaching competency in the digital era. So we conduct a questionnaire survey, and then we get the response from 155 lecturers in the Southeast Asia, Malaysia, Philippines, and Indonesia. And then for the sample size, actually what we calculate, we just get the minimum one, 153, because of the time limitation. Okay, so the demography, like you see here, most likely the respondent is female, most likely is a millennial, 31, 44 years old, most likely of them doing their master, or I think in this case they already completed their master. Most of them married with one child. Most of them come from Malaysia, and most of them in the rank of the academic rank, they are working as a lecturer. And most of them who participate in this study is come from others field. And then teaching experience in higher education, most of them, I think, you can see here in here, they are, I think they just got admitted to their respective institution, And country of work, most likely they come from Malaysia, and most likely they also come from government sector. Okay, for this part actually, this finding, and then this just want to give you an overview how we get the data and the software that we use to analyze the data. Okay, the explanation for this one, I will pass to my friend, Associate Professor Arif from universities from Indonesia. He will continue with the rest of the. Arif, I pass this one to you. Thank you.
Okay, from this part, I will explain about the result of testing. We have 7 hypotheses, but just one hypothesis is hypothesis 2 is rejected. I think in pandemic era, for hypothesis 1, the adoption of digital technology is important in developing competency in teaching, especially when faced with certain condition COVID-19. The adoption of digital technology that was carried out during COVID-19 was a form of necessity. Therefore, teachers who had to ability to adopt could improve teaching competence in digital era. And then for hypothesis 2 is, I think, is not different if the teacher or a teacher use a development of digital learning processes. I think it's not different of between online or online about the development of digital learning resources. And hypothesis 3, this is supported because in pandemic, I think in many institute in teacher to improve in facility to that is carry out the teaching process. There is an increase in competency. So the facility in digital learning has positive effect on competency teaching in digital era. And then hypothesis 4, I think its communication skill in digital learning have a positive effect on competency teaching in digital era, because I think we agree in offline or online is different communication skills. So the teacher must to improve the communication skill in digital era. And then numeracy skill, I think is have a positive effect on teaching and competency teaching in digital era, because in digital era, its student is able to improve their understand of the content area and demonstrate their knowledge and understanding. Learning in digital technology requires students to recognize and understand the role mathematics in the world and have the disposition and capacity to use mathematical knowledge and skill purposive, and they create digital solution for various purposes. And for hypothesis 6, you can see have a positive impact on teaching and competency teaching in digital era. I think we can see in pandemic era have a problem about the have unexpected and expected problems. So the teacher must to improve the problem skill to make decision and solve the problem in digital era. And the last of hypothesis is hypothesis 7. I think it's interest because in digital era we have many collaboration in other teacher in other country, but not just in country, but it's many countries. So this is unlike when offline which required to meet each other. So we can conclude first, adoption of digital era is not relating competency in digital era. Second, the relationship between adoption and competency contradict the general perception that higher technology adoption led to better competency teacher. And the third, development digital learning resources was not relevant to competency teaching in digital era. Yes, next, Rashid. Okay, this is last part. We have a suggestion for future research. First, to include more representative countries from South Asia, such as Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Brunei, and others. The second, different research approach can be applied to highlight and different various teaching competency standard in this country in qualitative form. So we have to acknowledgement first, the funding of the research in and conference in support by Segi University, Kota Damansara, Malaysia. And this paper have a contribution to related field of study. Policymakers should recognize the long-term benefit of digital technology in teaching competency in higher learning institution. Okay, that's all for presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Very good, thank you. I got a quick question. I understand in your discussion, you're talking clearly about acknowledging the relationship between the adaptation of the technology, but pointing out that that's not necessarily, it does not necessarily lead to increased competency. And I was going through the presentation, I don't quite see where you measure or how you measure competency. That was my question. How did you measure competency?
Yes, okay, sir. I just want to say thank you for your question. Actually, how we measure the competency. Actually, I think this one I already mentioned in my literature review, but that one I not really specify. Okay, actually, how we measure our the competency. Maybe I can give you some of example. For example, the first one, adaptation of digital technology. Okay, in our question, actually, we asked about if the lecturer is comfortable when using technology. And then we asked them also if the lecturer is able to learn how to use new technology and the software without any help. They know how to select the most right technology based on learning culture and local practice. And then they're able to use feature of the technology to enrich the learning process. Is that answering your question, sir?
I think we're talking about different competencies. When you describe competency, it sounds to me now that you're talking about competency with the software. When I was talking competency, I was more focused on the of communication between the teacher and the student. How well they communicate in this new, let's call it the new medium, you know, so communicating through Zoom and all these things, whether or not that succeeds in communicating successfully with the student, which goes a little bit back to the last paper. It's one thing to be able to deliver the message. It's another thing for that message to be understood. So that basically is my question. How did you look at that side of it, or were you focused more on the understanding of the ability of the teacher to understand the technology?
For that one, actually, we also measure how the teacher deliver, because teacher will be using Zoom, everything that everyone know. Microsoft Teams, Google Meet. But the things is actually, I'm sorry, but can you repeat again your question? Sorry.
Okay, just a question whether you are are you exclusively focusing on the time's up? Yeah, there you go. Shut up. Right? That's a timer. Are you focusing purely on the ability of the teacher to come to terms with the software when you talk about competency? Is that the competency? Are you talking about the competency of the teacher with the software, or are you talking about the competency of the teacher as a communicator to the student?
Okay, so actually for that one, for our questionnaire, both of the item and also we have more in here that actually that we measure that kind of thing, but maybe because of the time constraint, so I cannot tell everything, but that kind of thing also we measure, because we measure how the teacher deliver their how I want to say the learning material to the student. That kind of things actually we measure in our questionnaire. I just want to tell you that. Thank you.
Maybe I want to add the argue about the question. Can?
Yeah,
sure.
We argue communication skill is very important in competence in digital era, because I think if before we choose we choose the mention of the communication is have lack about the motivation issue and good communication between teacher and student, but we found teacher in 3 countries, Malaysia, Philippines, Indonesia, have to improve the skill of communication, like maybe use games in teaching to student, or maybe use a video to deliver the material on content the subject of the teacher teaching. I think this we found the communication skill in many teachers in 3 countries. They must to improve about the communication skill to competition teacher in digital era. I think.
Right. Yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, I think it's a very important topic to investigate, particularly as right now we're using Zoom, we're using this new media, if you like, and we're just hoping that it works. Enough from me. Questions? Do we have questions from the floor or from the internet or from anywhere? Come on, chaps. Here we are in the digital era. An opportunity to question the experts on the use of digital. Okay, I'm guessing everybody's hungry and waiting for lunch. So listen, gentlemen, thank you so much for that. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
And thank you to all the participants in this session. It was a fun session. And thank you for everybody for participating as speakers and as audience. Thank you.
Thank you for facilitating, for chairing the breakout session. Now, as I informing, to the breakout 2 sessions, we should commence at 1 p.m. sharp. And then before lunch, let's take a group photo beside the Makan kitchen, the Makan restaurant. There is literally called Makan for some reason right now. So that's all. Go there. Thank you for living once again, and enjoy your lunch or breakfast or dinner. What time is that?
Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you.